I was wondering if you could kind of contrast or compare the Buddhist approach to egolessness with the Western approach, or the Buddhist approach of meditation with the Western approach of psychotherapy. And the idea, it seems like the Western approach quite often says, well, there's not enough ego.
Deji, tanda, nangba sanje bake, da singe ti, tambu kiran ti, tanda ti koya kechen bures. Nangba sanje bake, da singe ji ye ne, ti pa meba chene ka gugu yoras, ti kese zang, bena ti sigi yo ma res. Ako suma, ti koya ti kiran kechen bishirar. Harasana mangbuchi ke samna, dame gom gore sedu, da singe ji yebe ki sheda bana shane, tene tim ma meba chik. Tene ti indu khaan sige yorasa na. Tene chedang ke da singe ti thangbu ngana ju dangzin seya ke sem da yorasa bin zimbati. Ti shikbar che kugu yore. Ti shikbar che bala paka shaji ki thone shikugu yorasa ti sige yormare. Ti sonzang indu ti nyinganda yormares. Ako songa. Tini ganda kasi ore chiki yore seyaji da chiki mare seyaji ti sani nambe pa yo mare pa ka ne tuks chiki yores ina ya da pena da singe di yoba ina ta yoba nanshi chiki yobe ki ta chube ki ta chik chuba chik ha ko go yorba ti sonza indu tin da singe di chuba ndere seyaji da mixe kaya yo marvas
In the Buddhist approach of practicing, meditating on the selfless nature, is again we must understand Buddha is not believing first that self exists. Therefore, you have to reject that very self. But what really Buddhists try to explain here in this whole idea of selfless nature or meditating upon selflessness is that undo our clinging to the existence of self. The self itself is not that harmful. But what is more harmful is grasping to the idea it exists, this is me. That grasping is the one that Buddhists actually emphasize upon to undetach or undo that very grasping. So therefore, in the whole idea of detaching from attachment, then it is not really the whole subject is the existence of non-existence of self, but rather the subject is detaching or attaching to that self.
This one's Hindu, then is Danzin singing the Yoris and Ya, Bana Danzi, Yes, and Gay to Gay Sigiomas. Tell a yam to Danzin singing the Yabati Pa Gagore Sigiomas, Tak Hanji, dancing the Korange, Bana Tak Nelu Kaim, but Dr. Tell us.
So therefore, in the idea of detaching and attaching to the existence of the self, again, Buddhism is not asking to really reject anything here or to adopt anything here, but what is in the Buddhist they try to convey you is to understand the whole situation, idea of the attachment or grasping, to understand that's what we are trying to convey rather than rejecting or adopting the whole idea of attachment or detachment.
This was a tendency in the Nupchoki psychology, that singing tea, ya gave what they say at that this chair, the Tanangan to puzzle, that tondo the sort tendency to do. Then that Galis Ane Tilaga Casawore Benata Benata Casawore Tanda Tedeki Semdoric Bage, that singing the social easy goddess Yajimado, that mix segage dancing into goddess and that chip dance Kayo Marvas, was Yajimato.
about the Western psychology. We're working on it. We're working on dealing with finding the parallel situation of the Western psychology and that of the Buddhism. And however, that it seemed to prove that in Western psychology, they did not really emphasize on the existence of I or self, but they do emphasize that self-confidence is necessary. That has nothing wrong in it.
Do you think the aspirations or the ability to do the meditation and actually experience shunyata or egolessness is more difficult if you lack that self-confidence, or if, in fact, you've had a horrible childhood, and so your sense of self is so low that it's very difficult to overcome any. You can't really let go of something that you have so little security with. Do you think it's more difficult, or is that just pretty much the karma or the obscurations in the situation?
다 모였으나 지난 게 춘중 관계 박사한테 좀 붙으세요. 이러고.
Obscurations 너무 뒤집는 셈이라.
좋아.
그니 that confidence with the banko the
다 대단한데스잖아. 레스 조 소소게 람 템베게 갑술라. 근데 디 갑술라 다 다게 신이유나레. 근데 다가나 신그 소소게 근데 냠는 제벽에 갑술라. 근데 감사합니다. 소소 냠용도 잘네. 다야지를 봤어. 근데 타직도게 베나다 self confidence 매바당 되는 다가는 신 같은데 춘중간 가리네. 되게 안에 베나 또 용야 매바지도 워크able 매바지도 개말 봤어.
All this situation really has to deal upon the personal experience of the individual person. It cannot be as given as a general explanation or advice, but that when you are dealing or that discussing such thing with your teacher or the spiritual friend, according to the individual's personality, that a teacher can give a different form of the practice to develop self-confidence and so forth, but it cannot be given as a general practice to everybody, as to everyone. So therefore that everything actually is a workable situation. Here nothing is not workable, you know.
Yeah.
I experience the grasping, in particular grasping, say, fear and greed in relation to eating food. And I wonder when those feelings arise, how to deal with them, how to turn that into practice.
다 모여서나 간지 산인 거요 말해서. 그래. 돈다.
Or you try to diet yourself, diet.
Yeah, and I feel...
You are in diet, sorry.
And that whole grasping, I mean, I do a lot of meditation, but it's in relationship to food that the grasping seems to come up the strongest. And the fear and the greed seem to be expressed in relation to food. And when those feelings arise, how to deal with it? What's the best way to...
그 약실되다. 그 약실이 전시 때는 하고 면로스. 전시.
I think
베나. 딱 정부시나 나라에 강의시나 예스. 클래스. 이세게 되는 Tibetan food
I think the best is really to have some sense of mindfulness of you should or should not do. That very mindfulness may be helpful. But to be more honest, self-confidence you can do, and so in that sense you try to be mindful. But to be more honest that I have the same problem when it comes to Tibetan food. Any more questions?
I have a question about children in relation to the self. Do children, when they're born, I don't know how to explain it, do they have attachment or non-attachment to the self when they're born, and then it happens? They become attached as they get their identity?
보고 당부 보고 단지면은 뭐가 말아.
Sure, they have that self of clinging, grasping, because they have that. The moment they are born and they cry, that shows that sign of existing or grasping to self. And when the doctor does this, well, it cries. I don't know the right term, so sorry. Cry is the only word I know, sorry.
Rinpoche, how can we work to make compassion and loving kindness manifest in our society, which, take television for example, glorifies exactly what we're trying to deal with, namely, greed and jealousy and anger. How can we work to make compassion manifest in a society that doesn't outwardly respect that?
다티소 디 따다나라 네그멘로스
TV 좀 맞았어요.
따다나라 네그멘로스 데네 따페나 지단게 다 주마다스 주미 송니세야 정한주 스리요레 데네 벤타푸기나 숙든데 시작이요데 이내 영어스 다 말에 고다가 다가 송니라한지레 마도 말에 대송자 인도 데네 텐데게 단 주마다 네 주미 송니는 바다 다 민투라고 소소 삼다네 텐수 때베이나 야고멘로스 데네 될 때는 소소게 ngaje challan tene lamne tene yaumana bas.
All those really seems to have a tremendous factor of an individual's personality of how you watch the TV. I didn't say which channel, okay? How you watch the TV. Maybe it becomes a practice if you watch it proper way. When you're watching TV, if you regard everything that's happening is like a dream, nothing is real. And everything that's happening so seem to be real, jealousy, anger, and greed as you talked, or seem to be not real. Magical play, nothing is solid, nothing is real. If you look at everything as like a dream, it becomes part of your practice on such. But if you involve in it, take it so seriously, then you develop your own neuroses, attachment. So that's how you really take the show or the very TV series
TV as
personally
an
or
example.
not. Sorry?
I was using television example. The same thing as when we're driving in a car, if someone cuts you off, first thing you want to do is, not something very positive towards them.
I see.
This is also an example.
What else? Yes. That 가서오래 덴데스전에 다 용거 연아양 근데 소소소소게다 가서오래 다 택문지기 연아야 택문제만 덴데 마용바체네 젠다 소소 전시대야 계속 물어봤어. I
think here also it is a question of mindfulness. of developing such, the first time you may develop some sense of anger, aggression upon that. Then maintaining in your mind that aggression is not the answer. So second time, with the mindfulness, you do not have such anger upon that. So that mindfulness helps you.
아니 다다 배낭 안에서 로종 기값을라 또 송요라스 제 손에 드네 배나 로종 공백이 잠지 마이바 세진 냠내는 저와스 전들의 송요래 대송도 간송고요라서나 로종 찍 세진 냠내는 저와 송요데 드네 공백이 잠지 마이바 드네 되던 넘버 건들로 소소게 로도 냐자처럼 가게 값을 이나야 드네 tendes 밤에 그 원도 녀모에 그 원도 쇼르로 갑술라 근데 소소 팅 당불라 마스나 팅 예발 소소가 하고 왔지 대시 땐또 같이 선배기 매바지 근데 대야 근데 나시진 소소 셈 주꾸네 근데 텐데스 좀 고요였지 손동아스
A very well-known practice as known as mind training practice. It really expresses in that mind training practice that mind training is not only should be done in the meditation session in the shrine room, but the mind training should be done in every activity in your regular life when you're walking, working, talking, sleeping, and so forth. So in that matter, that if you are able to maintain such a state of mind in every situation of your life,
근데 다 당불 값으로 소리네 용도고 많았을 때다 가서 오래 남산 소리네 이내 소소게 다 다른 마토나에 제마토바 제300에 쌤들 담자 담아서 렘바세 렘베게
So you sort of train your mind in that manner with the, again, virtue of mindfulness in every activity, and you gradually get to that. No one is born with such. No one can develop such in an instant, that quality. Having heard, you cannot simply develop that quality. Having heard that, you then apply the method over and over, practice, train. Then you really conquer or master that very capacity or possibility.
Well, what I'm thinking is that aside from looking at developing one's self in generating loving kindness and acceptance, is there a role for activism in a social or political way, or if
For them?
for the world,
Okay.
or taking that approach, is that simply folly?
소존 제한 로봇 선배게 되게 돈에다 바티치 반에 셴베 전죽 섬 때는 용 용고요레스 근데 세게 뜻이티 또티야 실라라레게 요르바스 아니 마시체단게 아니 세이나양 당원에게 쓰이세야 돼 밀펜바진베기 다 계세마 인두 이내다 들어서 뒤줄라 디칸데스로 지나한테
Socially, it's quite really obvious. Whole idea of benefiting other is not that simply you train your mind, but actually engage in helping others, in poors, for the sick in hospital, and whatever capacity. So therefore, it has a tremendous benefit socially when you have developed a sense of loving kindness.
쭉 돈에 직접에는 주부심지세야 된다고 다 팀스로 봤어.
So according to the Dhammic terms, that there is the perseverance bodhicitta. The bodhicitta, enlightened mind itself, is actually divided into two classifications: aspiration bodhicitta and perseverance bodhicitta. Perseverance means actually you're engaged physically, verbally in helping others. So that has very much associated with the socially helping, and politically. Now that comes a question generally politic. In a sense, government is meant to help people. So there is an idea of such, but then how it is designed to help really depend on who is within there individually rather than collectively.
Yes.
You spoke about the difficulty of doing Tonglen practice, and I want to ask about trying to do Tonglen practice when you don't want to, when you when you wish you had a kind heart, you wish you wanted to exchange self for other, but you don't feel that way. You feel like you're pretending. And how to practice then?
당보 가서 올해 당부 드레스 당부 군접 전주 그 쌈디 군접 전주 그 쌈나 때는 전담 전주 그 쌈디 깨고 여송어래 대인도 당부 소수에게 되네 pretend스나야래 다 put 가서 올해 다 소수에게 또 전에 되네 잠닝지 깨고요 그래서 깨네 되네 마세베 돈에 곰 된데스 전에 다 쪼와도 고고요 그래서 다디 아니 저랑게 단다 pretend 해야 돼 단다디 배는 다가스 밀 쇼 제한다고 다 된데그 톤에는 땡고네 pretend 해서 얘나야 되네 배는 더한다 메그 톤에 톱 마토게 계속 시에게요나 되네 당부를 매를 라고요 그래서 대체네 되네 되게 장배근 레벨 때네 되네 원에게 가서 오래 소소게 제뉴는 되게 더 연구요 그래서 마도 당분에 나가서 다가서 진짜 연구를 해요 말이스 이내 대체 투바 점지기 하고 싶다 그래서 근데
So this very bodhicitta, the enlightened mind we are talking, is also classified into two forms, relative and absolute. Now, absolute bodhicitta is based upon the relative bodhicitta. So at the relative bodhicitta sense, one do have to put some effort to develop loving kindness or compassion upon other. One do need to make some effort to give, to receive, because that effort is necessary.
가르라스나 대값을 타는 하나 당진요. 인생 나와요.
Why there is the effort necessary is still we have here at present self-clinging or grasping. So since the effort is necessary, it is known as relative bodhicitta. But if you are referring that effort as pretending, then it is okay. But if you are referring that pretending as only acting, then it's not positive. But if you are
이나
trying...
저랑게 샘바디 오늘 시에는 펜바체 삼백의 삼바상부지요나 pretending 말이야.
If you are trying hard to actually benefit other, from the motivation viewpoint, if you are trying hard, then it is trying, so therefore it becomes the relative bodhicitta. Based upon that trying or cultivating such, training over and over, gradually then you actually experience the ultimate bodhicitta. At that level, that becomes effortless state, genuine and sincere. But until then, that effort is necessary, and that's why
대송자다 너나
relative.
단단닝부터라 캐랑게 오네게 시에나 펜백 삼바던 데메고네 제베이는 들라 pretending sigmares.
So to make things very short, that if you really have a notion of wanting to benefit other, that very idea of wanting to benefit other, then if you are applying that very technique of giving and receiving, it's not really pretending.
dim mebache shembeng sem mebache tene tonle gomba yin saga sin kana to chedena ti pretending this.
But if you do not have any mind, wish or motive to help other, but if you are saying, I'm doing the practice or meditation of giving and receiving simply to show off to someone else, then it is real pretending.
To be honest, sometimes I think I do it because my teacher told me to do it. And I would like to do it for real, but I'm not.
Tene kenanti teacher ke laba tamjimado kenanti gom goebegi ju goebade tende ise kai meberes.
So in that means you don't feel it is necessary to meditate except that teacher says you should meditate. Is that so? Or I mean that meditation?
No. I feel it's necessary, I just don't want to. But I see why I should.
So then you need effort. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, last, please.
Rinpoche, is it appropriate to practice giving and receiving when the body is sick and very tired, and maybe the mind also very fatigued and tired? Or is it better to wait until the body's more healthy, the mind's getting more clear?
대답해 지금 말했어. 배나 디카 배나다 고나인 데그레스 이나 영혼에 제나 또는 기념내 때문에 뒷녀 고야게 요 말했어.
That really wouldn't harm the Tonglen meditation at all. Even
Now what I'm saying is it's not necessary to stop. You can stop, if you wish to. But in terms of the actually you can continue practice because that doesn't make you more weak by practice of Tonglen. So it doesn't make difference, unless that you created that it makes you more weak by doing Tonglen. But as far as the actual, the practice is concerned, it doesn't make difference. So in fact, I would say it's better if you continue, and you will get more strength, faster. Yes, last.
Even amongst those of us that practice Mahayana Buddhism, there's often hurt, bitterness, resentment, anger among individuals. How do we work with this individually, and how do we work with it as a group?
디 약슈드 디어레스. 다 베나 랑 소스게 베나 미소스게 소스 촌에 독스 제바이나 데네 디 약슈요레스. 베나 찰라 다 베나 셴다 랑다 강가 찰리 제고 있으니 시작하자 가고 그랬어. 디 인도 베나 계란다 보지나 계란기 촌에 아니 베나 셴게 텐데 제발 소바 검네 텐데스 제때 다가 넣으신 게 텐데 냠내 쟁에 상매 독스 제베이나 텐데 될 때네 담지 슈마 강가 dom연데 야고 시작으로 갔어. 이나다 방법 소스 그랑 소스 촌이랑 소스 제야 촌에 제야 개념을 했어.
it is more effective that if we work first from self, individually, rather than working again for a collective of people or others. So as you work from your individually self problems, get rid of such that when you are around or surrounded by such a influence of the atmosphere, then you try to learn to tolerate, and then working internally would be more helpful than rather than again working externally to internal. So it is more really effective. One need to work first one's own problems.
아니 텐데스 전데는 상매기 텐데스 제인데 아니 슈마야고 쳐그랬어.
So if everyone works upon their own problems like that, then things become quite simpler.
Okay, now we can stop. Sonamde Malando Barasho, Dushi, Joe, Kama Pati, Nimbo, Chundra, Punja, Tabara, Rashi.